Hey guys, Patrick here in middle of July 2020. Very interesting days in terms of real estate, both globally, nationally, provincially, but particularly we're going to talk about Niagara and what's been going on. July continues to the trend of every month sort of being different. We had March, we had April, we had May, we had what comes next, June, we had July, sort of like going to the ice cream store, Baskin Robbins, Avondale Dairy, whatever it is, and you have all these different flavors. Same goes for the real estate market. So July has continued on with what June started as far as the activity, the strength, the volatility. The demand is enormous, and then the supply is not. And that's really what it comes down to, is good old-fashioned high school economics. So while we had everything suppressed in March, April, May came back. June was a big bounce back month where we had sales volume actually top June the previous year, and now we've seen that trend continue. So remember back a couple months ago we did a vlog where we talked about the race between new inventory and sales, and we had that little go-kart graphic up in the corner. I'm going to put that right there. So that one we talked about, that's the race to watch, those two go-karts, how fast new listings come back online and how fast sales carry on, because that's going to determine how much is left on the shelves, right? And so now we're in July, we've had the benefit of having a month and a half, 2 months, 2.5 months of sort of a return to normal volume, normal activity. And then as a result, we can actually start putting some weight behind the numbers. So we're going to take a look at Niagara region, Niagara Falls, and St. Catharines. We generally focus on those three just because they're the higher volume numbers. You know, if we just took apart Font Hill or Port Colborne, there's not enough sales to put a huge amount of weight into. And Niagara region shows the whole area, obviously, and Niagara Falls and St. Catharines are good indicators of what's going on in general. So with that said, let's get to it. So one common trend that happened March, April, May, June was the market in terms of the number of new listings and the number of sales sort of ran in parallel. They were sort of in lockstep, is the term we've used. And then we see that change. So in this graph here, it's looking at the Niagara region, total monthly sales. You see the top line is the number of new listings. The bottom line is the number of sales. You'll see in June, and this carried across much of Niagara, the number of new listings came online faster than the sales increased. And we talked about that before. Sometimes we're right in that the sales sort of lagged behind the number of new listings because it takes inventory, right, for sales to start happening. So we saw that in the month of June that new listing inventory line for the Niagara region increased faster than the sales. But look what's happened in July. So these numbers here are as of July 21st. So we've daily rated the number of new listings, the number of new sales, and projected that out for July. It's going to change somewhat, but we're 2/3 of the way through the month. So you see they sort of pinch, where all of a sudden the number of new listings start to level or come back. Meanwhile, the sales start, and you can see if that trend kept going, all of a sudden we're going to have an enormous shortage of supply. So that's new listings versus sales for the Niagara region. This one here for Niagara Falls, again, same trend. The new listing inventory increased or came back to life at a faster rate than the number of sales in June, and then leveling off where you see them getting closer in the month of July. And then lastly, St. Catharines, a huge pinch, right? Where that new listing inventory came back strongly in June and then has eased back in July. Meanwhile, the sales numbers are really closing in. So that's again, you know, we talk about going to the grocery store. Imagine you go to the grocery store and there's less and less stuff on the shelves and more people going to shop. Eventually there's going to be, you know, fist fights for flour. There won't be, but you get the point. So that's new listings versus sold inventory. So let's look at average sale price. So when you look at average sale price, you know, it's hard to put a number or put a real sentiment behind why it's gone up like it has. But you know, the obvious one is pent-up demand, pent-up activity, shortage of supply, people that had to put off what they had to do before, and now there's more people joining the party, so now the room's a little bit tight, and then all of a sudden people start paying more. So we've seen some real spikes in pricing. So Niagara region is here, and you can see that right up in June and July. Now there was a few real big sales recently. We took those out of these numbers as well. There was a sale over $6 million, so we took that out. And then looking here at Niagara Falls, the same thing, some big pricing increases monthly in Niagara Falls. And then lastly, here we are in St. Catharines. So the key is these are 1 month figures, right? So we have to look at the trend, the overall, when you average it all out as we go 3, 6, 12 months at a time. But the trend is certainly pretty incredible when you look at where we're at July 2020 versus January versus September versus last January. So those are the 3 average sale prices for, again, Niagara region, Niagara Falls, St. Catharines. And the same trends tend to carry across the board, whether you're talking about Fort Erie, Niagara Lake, Beamsville, Thorold. But that's a quick scoop. I want to give you the quick update in 6 minutes or less. How about that? Hopefully you find this helpful. If you have any questions, you can reach out to us. We're going to link some other reports and some other info, including that market tracker below here for you to have a look at. If you're curious about your neighborhood, what's going on in your neck of the woods, reach out anytime. We're happy to help. Okay, thank you so much, guys. We hope you're well. As always, take care and we'll see you. Bye.